So we bring up this final story for the evening that we got from the BBC via the Telegraph at Yahoo News. BBC staff accuse corporation of anti-Palestinian racism. Now, this isn't just one staffer at the BBC. This is 110 journalists at the BBC.
I love this. Yeah.
BBC, and of course, you would never see something like this at the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Free Beacon or the Wall Street Journal or even the New York Post. You see this in other parts of the world, including the UK, which for the most part suck when it comes to the issue of Israel-Palestine. But clearly, there's more than what meets the eye. And in this case, BBC staff have written to Tim Davie accusing the corporation of anti-Palestinian racism and performing PR for the Israeli government and military. They have called for the removal of Sir Robbie Gibb as a BBC board member because they claim he has, not they claim, he does have close ties to the Jewish Chronicle. An open letter to the, and of course this guy is going to look exactly as you would expect him to, an open letter to the Director General signed by 107 BBC journalists, as well as celebrities, including Charles Dance, who was a fine British actor, if there ever was one. Charles Dance, I believe, is Game of Thrones.
I don't know. Don't even get me started on that Miriam Margolyes. She's amazing. I love her.
Mike Lee and Juliet Stevenson claims that the corporation is an organization that is crippled by the fear of being perceived as critical of the Israeli government. This bloke right here is Sir Robbie Gibb. Jen, would you have expected him to look anything different than what he looks like?
No, he looks like a twat. He just does. Yeah, he looks like just a total twat. Wait, scroll up a little bit. Scroll up a little bit. Let me see something. Yeah, no, not married. Continue.
The letter was signed by anonymous staff from BBC News, the World Service, BBC Arabic, and Panorama, amongst others. One of the signatories is from the HR department. Keep going. It has dismayed Jewish staff who fear there is an anti-Israel lobby within BBC News. You see, herein lies the problem. The conflation between Zionism and Judaism is very real. And so the fact that they have to highlight that it was the Jewish staff who fear that there is an anti-Israel lobby is ridiculous. The letter criticizes the BBC's decision to drop a documentary about doctors in Gaza owing to impartiality concerns. The film will be shown tonight on Channel 4 instead. It singles out Sir Robbie, the former number 10 communications director under Theresa May, who is now a BBC board member and sits on the editorial standards committee. We are concerned that an individual with close ties to the Jewish Chronicle, an outlet that has repeatedly published anti-Palestinian and often racist content, has a say in the BBC's editorial decisions in any capacity, including the decision to not broadcast Gaza medics under fire, the letter reads. Yes, I have to give you my British accent just once. We believe the role of Robbie Gibb, both on the board and as part of the editorial standards committee, is untenable. In fact, Sir Robbie resigned as director of the Jewish Chronicle just last year. Sir Robbie and the newspaper have been contacted for comment. I am sure that they have not said a word. Scroll up there for a second. I want to see what that says. BBC tell the truth. Israeli ethnic cleansing of Palestinians started in 1948. Israel is an apartheid state. The UK government aids Israeli war crimes. You could say the UK and US government are responsible for Israeli war crimes. The BBC has been embroiled in numerous anti-Semitism rows, including Saturday's Glastonbury coverage. I don't think there was anything anti-Semitic about that. Free Palestine, death to the IDF. When viewers saw punk rock duo Bob Vylan chant death, death to the IDF, and from the, you see, it's one thing if you're going to say the IDF, it's another thing entirely. You're going to say that from the river to the sea is anti-Semitic? Jen?
Well, the whole thing is silly. First of all, there's no problem with saying death to the IDF. First of all, that's just silly. That's they get to chant death to Arabs all the time. I've been watching these people scream death to Arabs. So death to an entire group of people based on a language they speak across the entire globe is okay. But death to a particular group of militants that are militants for a Nazi regime, that's a problem. So it's just silly, and it's just a distraction. And while they're distracting you and keeping the focus on that nonsense, they're just keep killing Palestinians. So it's absurd. It's absurd. And yes, death to the IDF.
And the one thing that has been proven over the past week since we covered Bob Vylan at Glastonbury, keep in mind that they said that the Zionists have systemic control. Some are just going to say it's the Jews, but the Zionists have a systemic control over political and economic affairs the world over. So when Mr. Bobby Vylan makes his statement at Glastonbury, the reaction was swift and expected and not at all surprising. Gets his visa revoked, gets dropped from his label. Now no one wants to any of the big, what you would consider arenas or stadiums that are having shows of different musical artists throughout the summer. They're getting dropped left and right. And why is that? Because they exercise their free speech rights? That's what happened. But in real time, they are showing just how powerful they really are, including the BBC, which is supposed to be one of the probably two most recognizable and supposedly trusted news sources in the United Kingdom. And
but
yet,
it's no different than our shit.
No, how could it be?
No, it's the same as our shit. Every once in a while, they have a good sort of impartial take on our domestic shit. You know what I'm saying? Just from being like outside of it. But in terms of empire, it's the same difference.
That's very true, Harashnu. The Israelis write pop songs celebrating their actions.
Oh, yeah, and they're yelling death. I see an interesting question, so I wanted to address this. But do all Jews speak modern Hebrew? Language is constructed to support the Zionist project. No, Jews in general do not speak Hebrew. Hebrew was an entirely evaporated language. I don't even know if it was ever spoken. It was a written language, but it was resurrected in the 40s by the early Zios to create a new language, to create this whole identity. It's all based on a fiction. And in fact, what they did was they forced the new immigrants, the new Zionists that were either Hungarian, Polish, Russian, wherever they were from, that were coming there to colonize, they all spoke Yiddish. Those people all spoke Yiddish, and they were forced to give up speaking Yiddish and forced to learn Hebrew. And I saw somebody in the chat before said that Zios hate Yiddish. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And yet that's the language of our people. And I say our people in that my people were all spoke Yiddish.
Very interesting. Why do they? What is the issue there? I don't understand that. Why do Zionists hate Yiddish? What is that all about?
So, okay, this is what I think. This is the general white supremacist problem with Zionism is this concept that it really is based on this idea of that Semites are bad and white Euros, Westerners are good. And Jews back in, the turn of that century and were always thought of as lesser in so many places, and they weren't considered white. And so the way to have some sense of identity and to be like what you would see as equal to other white Euros, you needed a language, you needed a whole thing, you needed a country, you needed a whole state. And so the creation of Zionism is very white supremacist in its entire being. And one of the things that they looked down upon were people that spoke Yiddish, because those were the dirty Semitic Jews that anti-Semitism was based on, because anti-Semitism is a European concept. Anti-Semitism doesn't exist in places that are full of Semites. They never even heard, like, that's not a thing in Palestine, right? Anti-Semitism comes from Europe and this concept of white supremacy. And that's the whole basis for it. So when you think of creating this like superior, this is why there's Zio-Nazis. They're superior ethnic race, they're a superior ethnic culture, whatever they are. It is Hebrew. That's the original language of the, of all of the Torah and all this stuff. And so they think that's part of their image, when in fact our people spoke Yiddish. And it was also a class thing too. But yeah.
Amen. As we wind down for the evening, we do have a few more super chats that have found their way into our good graces, of which we are extremely thankful. JG, one more time with the $2. Wankers and Cod Swallop Insanity. And another $2. Borg become whitey, assimilate others. Catch all that, Jen?
Borg become whitey, assimilate others. Well, you know what Borg is.
Do I?
Borg from Star Trek.
Oh, I'm not
Borg,
I'm not a Trekkie.
Okay, I hear you, JG, 1982. Borg is, it's like I'm not going to say a species. It's a collective that lives on a cube, and they're all connected brain-wise into the cube. So they're all the collective, and they're all brain connected. It's basically, yeah, that's us. We are Borg. And that's how they say it. It's not we are the Borg. It's we are Borg. Yeah.
Amelie 70, thank you so much for the 5 Canadian A. As a Palestinian, thank you for all you do. Thank you for your grace and for your strength. And we are sending our best to you and your family. Arm with Harmony, thank you so much for the gifted one generational change. But we got to change that, Colin. It's got to say revolutionary change.
How do we do that? Where is that?
Yeah, got to get that switched.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Unless your intention is to give it to generational change, but of course
there is. Well,
yeah,
it's us. Resistance is futile. See, Rachel understands Borg.
Yeah, there you go.
That's their phrase. Resistance is futile.
So we are going to have a guest.
Oh, this is important here.
Jamie with the $5. Thank you so much. Yiddish is my first language. The Zios Yiddish symbolizes the submissive Jew who they despise.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was like
it's a class war.
Yeah,
it's a class war.
Yeah.
Period.